Hey folks, this is Ray from GCRaymaker.com. Today I'm here at Elite's headquarters, going ahead and looking at their new 2016 trainer lineup. These are trainers that will be available starting this summer, but will be definitely fully shipping by then. So by the time you hit the fall trainer season, September, October for the North American or the Northern Hemisphere season, these trainers will already be in your local stores. It's a bit of a shift from the past when we used to have trainers coming out in October, November timeframe, so they're kind of a little bit late. So this year we're seeing both Elite and other trainer companies announcing new trainers much earlier in the season to get these trainers in your hands by the time it gets colder out. Hey folks, just one quick note before we get too far in this video. First off is that these are all prototypes. They're not quite final yet. So your trainer will not come with this secret little window into the inside of it. And also the colors will change a little bit. So just keep that in mind as we go through the video. These are not final units, but it's still a sneak peek nonetheless. So we've got 4 different models here. I'm going to kind of walk through all of them. The first one here is the Drivo. This is on the most expensive trainer that they have, coming in at $12.99 US or 13.90 euros. Now keep in mind with euro pricing, it's a bit variable, and that's because within the US you have minimum advertised pricing or MAP pricing, which means that prices stay at a very static level. But in Europe that concept doesn't exist, which means that the pricing is pretty much whatever retailers want it to be. So while this is at $13.90, expect it probably to be lower shortly after distribution. Next we have the Kura here, which comes in at $8.99 US and 850 euros. And then finally down here on the left for the non-roller side, we have the Rampa, which comes in at $5.49 US as well as 550 euros. Now these 3 trainers, we'll get back to the rollers in a second here. These 3 trainers differ a little bit. With the Drivo here, this is a direct drive trainer just like the Kura, except this will control your wattage. So this is very much like the Kicker or the Cyclops trainer or the Tax trainers, where it's going to go ahead and be able to control that wattage using AMP Plus FEC, which is the AMP Plus Fitness Equipment Trainer or basically Fitness Equipment Control Protocol. With the Drivo, it'll go ahead and transmit over AMP Plus Speed and cadence channel, as well as the AMP Plus power channel. It'll also go ahead and transmit that over Bluetooth Smart with the power channel as well as the speed and cadence channel. And in fact, all these are doing that the same way. Now the one exception down here is with the rollers. So with the quick motion rollers, you're going to go ahead and use the Mazzuro, which basically just simply pops in place there. It's like a tiny little pod. It weighs absolutely nothing, but it pops in place, and that'll go ahead and do that transmission over AMP Plus or Bluetooth Smart. Now with these rollers, they do actually fold up, which is pretty cool. So you can go ahead and just simply unlock this latch here and fold them in place and then put them away, which is a big difference compared to a lot of other rollers on the market right now, which still take a ton of room when you're not using them. So it's really nice that they do fold up. And you do have the Mazzuro here to go ahead and plop in place and get that. Now keep in mind with the rollers, the quick motion rollers, this particular set anyways, it will not control the resistance. So your resistance is controlled based on your pedaling style, your gearing, etc. They do have other models that can control resistance, but the quick motion ones are not one of those. Also keep in mind the quick motion unit will not be available in the US. That's essentially due to licensing and kind of patent junk. So basically behind the scenes, you can't get this in the US, but you can get it in Europe. Now whether or not you can find a European retailer that will ship you it, it's a whole different ballgame, but that's something that's sort of out of Elite's control. So when it comes to accuracy, the Drivo here is claiming a 1% within plus or minus 1% at up to 2,000 watts at 30 kilometers an hour or 20 miles per hour. That's basically the same metric that all the other trainer companies are using. Most of these trainer companies are in the same ballpark of that 1 to 2%. So we're all in the kind of the same range there. If we get to the Kura, it has the same claimed accuracy range, as does the Rampa down below. Now the Rampa is interesting because in the past Elite hasn't basically done advanced calibration certification of their mid and lower end trainers. But the Rampa will be joining the Kura in that range of trainers that they'll be doing basically a second pass through of calibration. So similar to what they've done in the past with their higher end trainers, they're now doing that with some of their mid-range trainers as well, which means that that takes away some of the manufacturing variabilities that you would have seen, where one trainer may be plus or minus 3 or 5% and another could be dead on. That goes away with the second pass of calibration they do after manufacturing. Now one of the things that sets apart a direct drive trainer from a normal trainer is that feeling of realism. Now part of this is because you're getting rid of the rear wheel, which means you're getting rid of some of that friction point that can result in slippage and things like that, but also comes from the flywheel. Now in this case, the Drivo here has a 6 kilogram or 13.2 pound flywheel, which means that it's going to feel slightly more realistic than a unit that has less flywheel. So in the case of the Kicker, for example, that has a 12 pound flywheel, or basically 5.5 kilos, so it's going to feel a little more realistic just by the flywheel weight alone. But in the case of the Drivo, it actually has two different belt systems. So that allows you to get a little bit more realism out of that as well, and allows you to feel that inertia a bit more than you would with a single belt system. So as far as noise goes, these trainers are fairly quiet. Now, one of the things to keep in mind with trainers is that it's actually not about the amount of power you're putting out that dictates noise, it's about the speed. So the faster you go, the more noise you make. Now keep in mind, in this case, I'm on an elevated platform, which is reverberating that noise down into the ground and up into this somewhat cavernous studio location here at Elite's headquarters. So it's going to sound a slight bit louder, but it's still pretty darn quiet actually. I'll go ahead and let you listen to it for a second. Now if you listen to me shift, you can hear in a lot of ways that's almost louder than the actual trainer itself and the light hum it's making. Finally, one of the last biggest changes that we have between this year's series of trainers and the past ones is the ability for the trainer legs to fold up. So you can see here how I've got the trainer legs, and I can go ahead and basically fold them up by turning the knob and then pulling that bottom leg up and then lifting up the entire unit. Now it's got this handle up top here, which goes ahead and allows me to go ahead and carry it anywhere I want very easily. In the past, some of their trainers have been a bit clunky, especially once you have the legs on. They haven't been easy to move around, and there wasn't really an easy way to grab them, move them within your trainer room, or kind of put them in a closet or somewhere out of the way. So that's been resolved. Now, once again, expect to see all these trainers shipping sometime this summer, definitely available by the end of the summer, certainly by the Eurobike timeframe, which is at the end of August. So they'll be available for you to start training on before it gets cold out. Keep tuned to the channel here as well as the blog for an in-depth review of at least one of these trainers, probably at least the Drivo, if not the Kura, going into the fall trainer season. Thanks for watching.